The New World Order is a crazy conspiracy theory that a powerful group is in control of the world, or on the verge of gaining such control. The phrase New World Order most likely first appeared in 1940s, when it was the title of the book The New World Order by H.G. Wells. New World Order was also used that same year in an essay by occultist writer Alice Bailey, which was included in her posthumously published 1957 compilation The Externalization of the Hierarchy. To both Wells and Bailey, the term meant a benevolent social democracy that would soon emerge. Some conspiracy theorists, however, believe the term goes back earlier to Cecil Rhodes and Lionel Curtis circa 1909. Its popularization among most conspiracy theorists can be traced to over 30 years ago when New World Order appeared in the 1972 book None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, a John Birch Society writer. Allen claimed it to be the code word which the international communist conspiracy would use when they were ready to unveil their secret plans for a socialist world government. This book was widely read in right-wing conspiracy-minded circles during the 1970s and is probably the source of the hysteria that later erupted over the term. The first high-profile use of New World Order by a politician was in a speech given by George H.W. Bush after the Cold War ended. In that speech, Bush was explaining that, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the United States and Russia would cooperate, rather than compete. All international relations experts agree that at that point, the old order of bipolarity had ended, and a new system was coming into place. The exact nature of the new system has been greatly debated over the years. As outlined below, the meaning for conspiracy theorists went in a different direction. The New World Order conspiracy started as an extension of old John Birch Society conspiracy theories about the role of the United Nations. This theory claimed that the United Nations was merely a tool of the communists, and that the end goal was the complete subjugation of the United States to the United Nations. This would then set up a world government in which all of the freedoms that Americans hold dear would be abolished. Usually, top American officials were claimed to be in on the conspiracy. As usual with conspiracy theories, there are many contradictory variations on the theory. The most popular variation used to maintain that international bankers were pulling the strings in both the US and the USSR. Others of a more obvious racist bent claim that Zionists were the ones responsible. As many conspiracy theorists also believe that the Jews are responsible for either the banks or communism, these three strands are often woven together into a completely ridiculous whole. Supporters of this crazy theory can say to a certain degree who is part of it, but nobody can determine who isn't part of the NWO. International organizations such as the World Bank, IMF, European Union, the United Nations, and NATO are often listed as core NWO organizations. Presidents and prime ministers of nations are routinely included in the conspiracy. A slightly different version of the NWO theory goes as far as saying that these families and persons are all part of the same bloodline. Most prominent families such as the Rockefellers, Morgans, and DuPonts, as well as European monarchs, are said to be important members as well. Specifically, the Rothschild family is often accused of being among the masterminds. Some versions of the theory are just reworkings of the old Illuminati conspiracy theory, in which a secret society is said to be working behind the scenes for world domination or some other nefarious purpose. Sometimes the Illuminati may be explicitly mentioned in these versions of the theory. Other versions will reference more recent groups, of which the Trilateral Commission and the Bilderberg Group, which, unlike the Illuminati, actually do exist, are commonly mentioned. Freemasons are also regularly cited as perpetuating a conspiracy for world domination. Many manifestations of the NWO theory characterize it as an international Jewish conspiracy, though others see conspiracy leadership elsewhere and are not explicitly anti-Semitic. It is because the NWO has limitless power and is worldwide in reach that it can be alleged to have been behind just about any event anywhere. This makes it less of a conspiracy theory than a framework into which any conspiracy theory can be shoehorned, a super-conspiracy theory. This also commonly involves a belief in pseudo-histories, usually ripped off from the cranks of yesteryear, in an attempt to explain the origins of the NWO. For example, more modern incarnations of the Wu theory often draw on older Freemason and Illuminati theories and claim that groups like the Bilderbergs grew out of these earlier conspiracies. The conspiracy theory remained marginal until the 1990s and the growth of the Internet. At that point, the theorists started to see Bill Clinton as the biggest pawn of the Wu. The events at both Ruby Ridge and Waco were considered part of the attempt to remove American liberties pursuant to an eventual takeover by either FEMA or the UN. During this era, the theory was most closely connected to certain paleoconservatives. Pat Robertson gave a boost to belief in the theory with his 1992 book The New World Order. Increasingly preposterous variations on the theory proliferated during the early to mid-1990s, such as allegation that mysterious fleets of black helicopters were being prepared for military occupation of the U.S. It is hard to imagine any U.S. president giving up American sovereignty to any organization, particularly the UN. However, some especially paranoid conservatives and libertarians believe that now that the Democrats are in power, it's only a matter of time until a socialist one-world government is instated and American sovereignty is given up. Dissenters would naturally have to be controlled or eliminated somehow. It is believed that there are to be numerous internment camps located within the United States and that these internment camps will start being seen as signs before any action is taken. These camps are to be used to store any Americans who protest or give any sort of fight against the Secret Service Guard, that is to be used to control the population and new laws. The version found on the religious right mixes the conservative tropes with biblical end times prophecies. The general theme is that the Antichrist will come to Earth as the head of the UN and use it to implement a world government. In the most recent, more liberal version, instead of the UN taking sovereignty away from the US, through the UN, plans to conquer the entire world. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are thus believed to be the first stages in that plan. In this version, it is the neocons who are the masters behind the Wu. Another version of this from the left stems from the anti-globalization movement, in which transnational corporations will implement global corporate governance. This form of the conspiracy is where left and right often bleed together as right-wing populist and producerist views oppose globalization as well. This can be seen in third positionism and the political campaigns of Lyndon LaRouche. The New World Order conspiracy has gained currency within the UFO subculture as well. In this form of the conspiracy, the aliens are actually in control of the secret cabal running the Wu, or are shapeshifters taking the form of world leaders. This also usually involves theorized cover-ups of Area 51, Roswell, and the forged Majestic 12 documents as part of the Wu conspiracy. The idea that the US, which is notoriously bad at keeping secrets, would be able to hide a conspiracy of this magnitude is simply absurd. When one further considers the current antipathy felt between some of the leaders of the UN and the US, and you have a theory that really is laughable. The US and UN cannot even agree on any of the basic accords that come before the UN, with the US often either trying to push activities that the rest of the UN blocks or else vetoing activities that the rest of the UN believes in. In order to explain the above, believers claim that the US deliberately humiliated itself by releasing its own secrets in an effort to give the impression that it can't keep them, and this is a cover for the real secrets which it can keep. A similar argument is made about the antipathy felt between the leaders of the UN and the US. Yes, they seriously claim that all evidence to the contrary is disinformation. This means that the theory is impossible to falsify. But then again, that's what they want you to think, isn't it?